Peace. What up, y'all? It's Interphone Merc, the Code Breaker, right back at y'all. Today we're gonna react to this guy, Charlie Kirk, talking about white privilege is a racist lie. But before we get into it, though, I'd like to make a disclaimer. Let's not get emotionally involved in anything. Right? Our emotions tend to ruin the view and where you're at in the reality. It's a trick designed to rob you of your life force. Okay, it ties into your ego, and we know how misleading the ego could be. Right? When you actually look at it, right? You got ego and emotion. Right? E/motion, go and motion are like synonyms of one another. They occupy a similar energetic thing, right? And it plays into you because you are the energy. You are potential energy that can go in any direction at any given time. How do you funnel that direction and where you're going is by the emotion. What's inside of your mind? What's your internal conversation? What do you deem real? Okay, so race, politics, family, and social status ties deeply into your emotions, which is also tethered into your ego, right? So I realized that having certain conversations with people, the more emotional they are about a particular topic, the less we can really go down into a deeper part into it, right? The more emotional, matter of fact, to be cool is to not be that emotionally involved in whatever it is you're engaged in, right? So let's keep that in mind. So we're going to react to this. I seen a piece of it, and some say, you know what, I should do this on YouTube because I don't know how many of us is probably going to agree or disagree or think like this. So, um, Merc, code breaker shit. You already know. Check it out.
I just
Thank you
want to
for being
say,
here.
yeah, thank you for holding the mic. Thank you for
Champ. Champ.
just want to say thank you for being here. So I have a question. As a Latino in this country, kind of want to ask your opinion on white privilege because
Sure.
I think I saw something on Facebook. Someone shared like a video or a picture, and I kind of want to just get your views on it, if you could, please.
Awesome. White privilege is racist. White privilege is a lie, and it is a myth.
Could you elaborate?
Happy to. White privilege is racist. Let's go through it. As soon as you begin to categorize certain individuals based on skin color, that
Did you notice those two behind them waiting to ask the question how they were reacting? They could react about anything, but you could tell that their emotions aren't as charred as mine when I very first heard this, right? And the guy posing the question obviously must have heard him say this somewhere else on Facebook, and he's bringing it up to him because he knew that if I just say enough, it would trigger you into what I thought I heard. So I think that question he already heard him say it, and that's why he had the white privilege is racist and a lie. He already had that queued up. Then he said, "Can you elaborate?" And now he's about to try to elaborate.
in of an essence is racism. It is. If you say, "Oh, you're privileged because you're skin color,"
Sorry, I was trying to rewind.
racism. It is. If you say, "Oh, you're privileged because you're skin color," are you kidding me? I mean, you don't know about my background or my upbringing. All of a sudden, you're generalizing an entire group of people just based on their skin color. That is racism. The definition of racism is putting a specific definition onto a group of people based on their skin color, a prejudice just based on their skin color. That is racism, whether it's a good prejudice or a bad prejudice. That is racism.
That is not racism. Racism is the ability to systematically place people in a certain institution that does not benefit that particular race, but benefits a race. Um, Bias or prejudice you you assuming that you're better than another race or difference, whatever differences it is you have between another race. But when you have the ability to create an environment and a system that enforces that belief, that is racist. The race, because if you look at prejudice, bigotry, and racism, they all shouldn't mean the same thing if they all different words, especially racism, because that's the racist and racism and all that tends to people tend to throw that word around. Oh, that's reverse racism. Racism has something to do with power. Okay, so it is very ironic that the person that created or like he's going to deny he created because he said I wasn't here, it wasn't me. That's the tip. That's another thing. I didn't own slaves. I didn't do this. But you're the beneficiary of this particular thing. Your race is the one that is enforcing the law, right? So and certain ways that people learn and go through this reality, right? So um, let's not be fooled, right? Let's see what he says.
Is it a lie? Absolutely, it's a lie. Now, do are have Caucasian Americans generally done better over the last, 100 years? Yeah, that's correct. But there's also other communities that have done much better.
Yo, you can't see how when he said that, that kind of went like a subtone as to say, that's not like how I think. But you cannot deny the obvious, right? So, um, I find it very ironic that the one that is the racist can call something racist when you created it. I'm not saying that he is racist. I'm using him as the generic white man that may be racist, right? That because there's another factor to it, critical race theory. Critical race theory is the fact, well, it could be critical race or gender theory, right? So let's go to a black woman, right? And she's get discriminated on for whatever reasons, and or not even discriminating on, just the way the reality, just the way her conversation happens with herself when engaged with the society, right? And she would say, "Oh, because I'm a black, because I'm a woman, because I'm this, because I'm that. This is, this is the why. This is why. This is why." And that's because we cannot help from the way that we've been treated, from the color of our skin, and so forth, that led us to be this way. So to be, we know that, and that's always on our mind. It may not ever be on your mind because you are the beneficiary. You are the one that's exempt from this type of pressure, right? I remember one time, quick story, I was in a classroom and somebody's phone went missing. And it was a diverse group. By diverse, meaning there was a few non-whites in there, me and a few other people. But when that phone went missing, I was nowhere near the phone, none of that. And my internal voice said, man, I hope they find that phone before somebody come asking me to search my bag and all that. And that's critical race theory. So now I'm chilling, trying to be normal with everybody else. Well, she can't find her phone, and I can't help but think someone's going to think that I took that fucking phone. That's critical race theory. That's a form of trauma. It's not that I wanted the phone, not that I had the phone. I didn't know nothing about the phone. It's just the fact that I felt that the group may feel, hey, that black guy might have took that phone. And there's probably 3 or 4 more black people that was inside that same group that probably had a similar conversation with themselves. And I was so relieved when she said, found it, happy that she found the phone. So that's what I mean, right? So he let's see what he's trying to say from here. But in a certain regard, I understand what he's saying at the same time. All right. So let's keep that there.
Asian Americans, for example. I never hear about Asian American privilege. Asian Americans are the wealthiest, most productive, least likely to commit crimes members of the American community. Where's their privilege? Is their privilege based in skin color? Absolutely not. There's privilege based in making good choices. When you make good choices, those choices are rewarded. Asian Americans entered.
Good choices, choice. Do you know that if you limit what I see, and those are the choices that I would make from, because I'm limited in view. So when you create a system that alters the way I see the reality, you are limiting my choices. And if my choices aren't good, because I don't have all the choices to make, the proper choices to make, then what does that mean? So for someone to create a system that's going to purposely mislead by all types of level, financially, eh, what's the other word? Psychologically and health, right? These things have been played with as in part of the golden people struggle, right? So what's going on here is that they're trying to, in 2024 and beyond, they're currently trying to remove what they call white guilt. right? I believe that a lot of the kids, their kids, are in love with black people, whether through entertainment, going to school with them, and or just being a vegan white person when you want to live and let live. And then when you hear about slavery, you hear about this, you come home, you tell your mom about it. She feels bad that you feel bad about it, or he feels bad that you feel bad about it, and then they try to alter the reality to relieve their future generations from going through this, right? But what about us, right? What do we do? What do we? How do you when you show roots? I remember my daughters came home one day from school and they said, "Dad," I'm like, "What's up?" They said, "I hate white people." I said, "Yeah, why you say that?" She said, "Because they showed us roots today in school." And I said, "Damn, they still showing roots in school? Why? Why would they still be showing roots in school? Because it's psychological warfare, right?" Now, I would like to blame someone later on for this later to make it all make sense because it's going to be a missing piece to the puzzle. But let's see what he says as I continue.
Mostly in the 1940s and 50s, fleeing communism and Marxism. By doing so, they came into the American community widely discriminated against. In fact, if you ask your grandparents what they think of people from Asia, they won't say very nice things, especially your great grandparents if they're still alive. They made very good choices. They did the three things you need to do to stay out of poverty in America, according to Ben Shapiro, which is you got to graduate high school, get a job, and get married before you have kids. And over the last 60, 70 years, they are by far.
And get married before you have kids. What does that got to do with success? What does that got to do with poverty? You could be married and poor. What is he talking about? This doesn't make any sense unless there's more to marriage than what we think marriage is, right? But other than that, those three things to escape poverty, when we got a system working against you, come on, man, make it make sense.
The richest group that you can point to based on race in America by far. So here's the perplexing thing is that I said it's racist, richest group that you can point to based on race in America by far. So here's the perplexing thing is that the Ben
I'm
Shapiro,
sorry.
which is you got to graduate high school, get a job, and get married before you have kids. And over the last 60, 70 years, they are by far the richest group that you can point to based on race in America by far. So here's the perplexing thing is that I said it's racist and it's a lie. What else did I say about it? I said something else. It's very divisive, extraordinarily divisive. Because if you're going to start to categorize people just based on their skin color, then they're nothing more than that racial group. They're not an individual. It's not saying that you could rise above your circumstance. It's not saying you can make good choices. It's not saying that, oh, you might have been born behind and you can get ahead. We want to talk about white privilege. Here's a good question. And anyone who here believes in it, please step up to the microphone. We can have a discussion. It's a little, I don't think it'll offend anyone, but it might bring someone back. Here's a really good question to ask. Are Jewish people privileged? Are Jewish people white? Anyone?
Oh my God. I promise you I was going to talk about that, but he said it on his own. So those group of people that he said may, all right, so now the conversation is starting to take shape, right? Because what's happening here is as I awake on my journey, they say that in the Masonic realm, they say that there's a blindfold and a hoodwink, two hoodwinks, right? So you got a blindfold over your eyes and you got a hood over your head. You got two hoods over your head. So it's like three levels of deception, right? In other words. So as we grow and develop, we might be taking off one layer of the deception thing. And assume that because we did that, that the rest of it is true. You have more to go. So if you look at the one, two, three of it all, my awakening, his awakening, and then us having a conversation. Because before it was a conversation, it was war, right? Dan white boy, Dan whatever he gonna call me, right? So now that we having this civilized dialogue, um, he's trying to tell me how the term white privilege is a lie and it's racist, right? And when I heard it, I reacted to it like, um, he's trying to pass it off like it's not a real thing. So why, how could he do that? And now that he's asking this question, like I said, I didn't see this So I don't know how he's going to do this. And because the people that he just named are the powers that be, he's going to thread very lightly on how he is going to condemn or blame or anything like that, the whole thing on it. But I believe the group that he just named is the group that created the term that white privilege, because it is divisive and it will also keep turmoil between me and him, so that he, the other third layer, the hoodwink, blindfold, the blindfold will always be on, and we could never get to that particular culprit. So now that he brung the group of people into the conversation, right? I can see where this is trying to go, but if, hopefully you guys can too. Put it in the comments if you understood what I'm saying and understand where this thing might go. And to answer his question, most of the Jews that are over here are white, and a percentage of those Jews there are privilege. Yes, that's the whole beauty of white privilege, because it cloaks those in white skin. And then if you are a Jew and you have a white skin, you are blended in to that white skin thing, because most people ain't gonna be able to differentiate you're Jewish from just whatever white. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of times when you call a certain white boy a white boy, he lets you know, oh, I'm from Germany, or I'm this, I'm that. You know what I'm saying? They don't like the term white because white is vacant of a land. But black people, we like black, even though it's vacant of the land.
Are Jewish people considered white? Technically, they are.
If you consider their history, I would say not.
Oh, they're not white. Then what are they?
They're Semites
They're
from the Middle East, at least historically speaking.
Okay, so we don't have that as a box to check on the U.S. Census Bureau.
I think there should be.
Okay, so they should be Semites. Okay.
Well, not Semites, but
Well, I mean that is the technical definition. But for lack of a better term, they are considered white.
I'm white and I'm Jewish, and I don't think that I'm considered anything but.
Yeah. So let's go to this.
I don't think it's a monolith, though. I mean, I think you can if you identify as white and a Jew, like that's fine. But
It doesn't
I
matter
know
what
like
you
there are
identify
a
as,
lot of
it's what
people
you
who
are.
have a lot of connections to, especially like Israel.
Yeah. So but here's the point. Here's the point. Is the question is, if you categorize them as white, which you don't, most do, did they really have that good of a 20th century? Were they really privileged over the last 100 years? Really?
No.
Yeah, they had an extermination order put up against them in an entire continent. Here's the point: is that if we are
Let's do the math. Why did that happen? You see? So now there's ideology that the ruler in that particular time that was caused the head of the Holocaust. We know him as Adolf Hitler. The reason thing, he had a philosophy that the Jews were creating. They were um, having an economic stronghold on the land. They were siphoning the riches off the land while creating debauchery. There's another video I'm going to let you look for on here, and then we're going to react to that, by a Jewish guy who's giving you the history on the. I'm not quite sure if he said Ashkenazi or whatever, but he was talking about the Jews in Germany and economics, and how they studied economics and how they carry certain things out. And because Germany was a failing country economically, is what made Hitler come into play, sort of like Trump is today, right? And his ideology was to bring this up. But before that, he probably was super mad at what they were doing to order to reap that type of karma. Oh, so for him to play that card, like, oh, do you think they had this and this and this and that? I mean, it's pretty fucked up.
we are going to try to segregate the American populace based on skin color, that is the very definition of everything that we have tried to fight against in this country. Everything. And despite even historical and statistical trends, it just isn't true. There's twice as many white people living in poverty in America than black people. Do they live at a higher rate? Absolutely they do. You talk in aggregate numbers, it doesn't reflect to that. So look, here's the point, is that it is anti-individual.
That's not where the privilege lies. The privilege lies on when any of those white people are competing for the same spot, they will more likely get it, right? When maybe not in today's world all the way through, I can't see a particular hillbilly beating me in a particular thing. But if that hillbilly was to not present himself as such and act like the status quo white boy, he will be in a position to hire and fire. You know what I mean? He or his like nepotism, just because they understand it from a financial level. You understand? The hospitals, the law. Look at the Rittenhouse. Look at all these cases. You know what I mean, that benefited the white man versus this. The jails are saturated with black and brown people and a sprinkle of the Asians. And then they got a sector for the whites because the whites make up a big population of the USA. Right. So per individual, per crime, is a grading curve because let's just generally speaking, black people will probably occupy the cities in every state, right? But the rest of the state is predominantly white. So every state in America is mostly white. I think it's like 11% black people. And then they say that the jails are 95% black. So you can see there's a disproportion there, and there's a certain privilege that comes to that. As your skin is being interrogated, you have the benefit of the doubt. When Zimmerman and Trayvon went through that ordeal, Zimmerman was able to go into the police station, tell a story, and walk out free. You know what I mean? Before he even got locked up, he didn't get locked up when it first happened. They told him, "Oh, what happened?" He said what he said, and they let him go. That's the privilege. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that it's not a competition and a corporation or a job or certain things won't hire the best man because it's in the best interest of the corporation to hire the best man and not necessarily see it as race. But if sometimes when the hirer is doing it, he's going to put he might give the white man more money. He might put him in a higher position. You hear people talk about it in Hollywood. Women are saying, "Oh, the men get paid more money." They're saying men, but they mean the white man. The white man's getting paid more money.
And it is very much this idea of racial group collective that I think is extraordinarily harmful and creates this victimhood mentality that pits one group up against the other, that does not reward what America truly is, which is a place where good choices will eventually be rewarded. Go ahead and say something in response if you want to.
Yeah, just I guess one follow up question. So you don't think that specifically regarding the United States, like the crippling, like systematic oppression of like the '60s and before that, has like any kind of effect whatsoever on African American communities?
Great question. Okay, I'm glad you asked that. Say it again. So say it again, because I want to.
Do you think that the systematic oppressive laws of the '60s and prior to that have any kind of effect whatsoever on African American communities today?
Sure, they did. But didn't the internment camps against Asian Americans in the '40s have something against them? They rose above it, right? So here's the question: is America more?
um, the scrutiny and the hate and the threat that has been painted on our people by racists, let me see, propaganda through news and movies and pop culture and sort of things, the way how they vilify the black skin is not as intense as they did with the Chinese, or what I should say, Asian Americans or Asians period, or anything like that, right? The new bad guy they had marketed was the Arabians, the guy, I mean, the terrorists. They made those guys look like terrorists, so they put them in movies. They did this almost a similar thing on my Asian hate video. I'm letting you know that the hate is the same. You know what I mean? They treat what they don't like the same way, right? So they got a level of Asian hate, but that Asian hate is just a little cousin compared to the black hate. You understand what I'm saying? So this guy is picking these buzz groups, these token groups, and trying to make it think, oh, they got over it, right? Yeah, they might have got over it, but because the scrutiny wasn't as intense, see, the whole world is against us, right? Well, they have tried to make the whole world against us, even though it's really him versus the world. His job is to now make alliance with other races to keep this particular race down, right? So you can see racism practice in China. There's black Chinese over there. There's black Dominicans. There's dark skinned Italians. But that's not what the TV shows you. The TV doesn't show you that. So that lets you know that that ideology to hate the darker part of your expression is the racist. I mean, is the racist mechanism that came from bigotry and prejudice. You understand? So, um, him picking these groups. Why did he bring the Jews up if he wasn't going to stay on Jews? Unless he just was trying to put it in perspective for those who already know, because the thing that is the propaganda machine is run by that particular group, and that particular group would treat him as his lesser brethren to be in combat with black people, right? Because there's a karmatic rule: you are what you touch. So now the master magician, yeah, there I go with magic again. He doesn't want any karma, so he has to use words that would trigger the emotion that would put you in motion to do something. That I put psychological stuff in there that would promote you to do something, right? So the ignorant white man is just as niggery as that black man that he's calling a nigger. You understand what I'm saying? So this is for educational purpose only. Those words were just, these are words in a dictionary. This is a state of mind in which they were trying to put people under. You know what I mean? So they wanted you to see, they wanted us to identify as niggas, and then they wanted another group of people to treat us like niggas. And amongst what they call niggas, we got black people, good quality, educated, honorable black people. And there's a lot of us. There's more good, positive black people than it is the thugs that they market on TV. That's another conversation on how whatever your frequency is what you frequently see. You understand? And we are energy in motion. All right. So these are all fundamental parts. It's just that group of people he called out studies the reality from a different point of view, and then they play games based off the way we relate to these point of views. And this is the game in motion. So he's a victim of it, just like I'm a victim of it, right? But I'm carrying more trauma because somebody has programmed him to strike me while I'm the one getting struck. I can't hit back. So even though he may feel guilty for striking me, he doesn't understand why he's doing it. I got that. I don't understand why he's doing it. And I got the actual hit, the actual mark, the actual pain that came from his programming. So it's going to be hard for me and him to reconcile unless we understand there's a third person at play that's making all of this go down.
More racist today than we were in the 1960s? It's a legitimate question. Can anyone possibly say we're more racist today? No. Then why are blacks worse off today than they were in the 1960s? It's not because we're a more racist country. We're much less racist.
Racism has evolved. When a black person has a racial experience, it has got quantified down to his individual experience with that thing. When the racism has got so much evolved, like I just said, that if I go through a racist situation and I try to tell another black person, he and she may not even understand that it's racial till they go through it. You understand what I'm trying to say? So this thing, it evolved. It's not as blanketed as it was before, but the psychological effects of it all is still there. We call it Jim Crow. We call it slavery. We got the slavery mindset. We got nigga mindset, and we got just those mindsets that have been implemented on us today, and then we're left at our own devices. So the racism is probably even got worse because it's covert, and they're dealing with our children. They're dealing with media. They're dealing with the repercussions of the stuff that happened in media because of this programming. So I don't like when you know they they talk like this and make it seem like that's not a component of the thing.
In every single metric. It's because we've incentivized bad behavior over the last 60 years. Black single motherhood was 18% in 1965. It's now 71%. What happened? Is it because we got to be a more terribly racist country? No. Did we get more racist laws? No, we actually got rid of most of all of them. Civil Rights Act, We got rid of almost every single one. So what happened?
The fact that we had to have a civil war, a civil rights act, the fact that we got to march, the fact that we got to say stuff like that lets you know that the privilege is ever present. Lets you know there's a psychological damage that's ever present. All right, I mean, like I said, I say it about putting the fathers out the house, and we need to put fathers back in the home, and so the single parent thing. This is
It's because we incentivize really, really bad behavior. We said to single mothers, go ahead, have kids. It was 18% in 1965. It's now 71%. What happened? Is it because we got to be a more terribly racist country? No. Did we get more racist laws? No, we actually got rid of most of all of them. Civil Rights Act, we got rid of almost every single one. So what happened? It's because we incentivize really, really bad behavior. We said to single mothers, go ahead, have kids, and we'll give you a check every single month. But don't get married. As soon as you get married, you lose the check. We put African Americans in urban areas and housing projects that, again, incentivize bad behavior, and that was the advancement of the American welfare scheme. Also coupled with failing public schools, run mostly by teacher unions that were not properly incentivized to try to get the people out of poverty that were very much in. By every single metric, African Americans are worse off today than they were in the 1960s, with crime, prison rates, single motherhood, employment,
racism
wealth capita.
is when you have the ability to create institutions that can put people or the race that you deemed in those institutions to benefit the race. If you think that your race is superior, and then you create a system, an educational system, a judicial system, and a dietary system that would deprive that particular group of the fundamentals, that's racism. So everything he just called out, the institutions he just called out, the welfare, with don't you get married, and the jails and so forth, the housing project, all that are direct and is in direct correlation with racism. So that is the privilege, right? You see what I'm saying? So it is in the it's not up. It sounds cringy when he's saying it. Is what I'm pretty much the crux of what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? But he's not. He probably is afraid to really have a particular conversation on how to really make it make sense. And if he's just trying to bash it from his white man point of view, it's not going to make sense. It's not going to go over well, especially with me. It's not going over well with me, right? But lucky for you guys, I don't have my emotions out of whack, and we're able to keep our emotions in check, because this ain't about nothing. Life is realer than this, and we know how to dance. All right.
Everything. And there's only one possible explanation for that. It's not that America got more institutionally racist, not any of that stuff. It's that there was a set of policies put forth by one president and continually supported by entire political party to keep a whole segment of the population poor and routinely voting Democrat. And that's Lyndon Baines Johnson and the American Democrat Party, which I think completely punished it. So if you want to talk about systemic oppression and racism, there's lots of other examples of ethnic groups that went through that too. If that's the card you want to play, it does not couple. Almost every single one except African Americans and Native Americans have not rose above it statistically.
Native Americans and African Americans were the same group of people. Don't let nobody trick you. They have marketed a particular phenotype to also share that, but black and brown. But it's the same thing. And for him to say that so cavalier, like these men and women didn't want to be better. They didn't try. You know what it's like to go in the bank and get denied because of your skin, or because you can't get a job because you're overqualified, to the point we had to make affirmative action. I don't know if that was Democrat or Republican, but the nerve to even make it political and not go all the way in. Let's keep the race. You know what I mean? So he's obviously Republican, right? Nothing wrong with that. I mean, but is a governing class, is a that Democrat, in my belief, was created by the Juicies in order to keep this thing invisible, keep their hand invisible. You understand? And he's aware of it too. So he can only call out as much as he can if he still wants to prance around in his privilege.
In common is absolute total government interference and involvement in their life. Go, follow-up question? I appreciate it. Thank you. So anyone disagree?
I disagree with a lot of stuff you were saying because it didn't seem like you were talking in complete complete thought. You did a good job to relieve a lot of white guilt. You know what I mean? But with that said, man, it's your boy NFO Merc, the Code Breaker. Thank y'all for tuning in. You made it this far. Hit the like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a comment in the bottom. Should I do more reactions? Any send a video or something you want me to react to? That'd be cool. Like I said, though, I appreciate y'all for having me. Thank you.